One such winner is also a Hall of Famer, and it's my great pleasure to introduce Hank Steinbrecher to take over the second half of tonight's celebration, a great friend and a man who is very comfortable behind the microphone. Hank Steinbrecher.
I might feel comfortable behind the microphone, but not in a neon red blazer. Sorry if I'm blinding everyone out there, but this is part of our uniform and I'm proud of it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us tonight. Tonight is indeed a very, very special night. It's a night that we embrace our new president, Carlos Cordero. Carlos, again, please stand. And it's a night that we pledge working together in harmony to be the very best that we can be, because that's the American way. It's also a night that we pay homage as a chorus of voices to the very best in American soccer. And while I'm speaking about the very best in American soccer, let me introduce to you some Hall of Fame members who are in our audience. Please stand, I call your name. Jeff Agus. Jeff? Paul Caligiuri. Paul? Teddy Howard. Teddy? Alexi Lalas. Arnie Mauser. Alan Rothenberg. Eric Winalda. These are giants in the game, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to introduce one other person, Joram Buchholz, who is our new executive director of the Hall of Fame, which will be in Dallas, Texas, Frisco, Texas, excuse me. Bjorn, will you please stand and be recognized as well? I also wish us to take a moment of silence again to honor the memory of two of our colleagues, two of our brothers who've passed away this year, Tony DeCicco and Bob Keogh. Let's have another moment of silence. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's class, thank you. This year's class to the Hall of Fame, induction to the Hall of Fame, is a unique class. And I've given some thought to this class and to think what is the commonalities that exist in their character to have them being inducted into the National Soccer Hall of Fame. And I know them all well. And I thought, well, there's a couple of commonalities I think that they share, and they share with you. One is the love of the game, a deep, abiding passion for what they do, a passion for play. But above all else, the three candidates, or the three inductees you'll see tonight, have some of the highest levels of personal character and integrity of people that I know in the game. So therefore, it's my honor to join your voices in our chorus to pay homage to them. First, I'd like to talk about Jim Trecker. Jim, why don't you come on up? Jim Trecker is the Colin Jones Award winner, named after the great historian and author, Colin Jones. You know, soccer in America wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for the press. The press are a key link to getting our story out. But the press must be managed, must be orchestrated. And Jim is the best there is in that field. His sports media career has gone over 4 decades, beginning in the 60s. This gentleman was there for the arrival of Pelé and the New York Cosmos and managed all of Pelé's meetings with the press. Certainly he could tell some great stories. Oh yeah. Trecker did something that was very unusual in the 1994 World Cup as our press chief. He created, along with Guido Tagnoni of FIFA, the mix zone, which is where the press and the players can get together after a match. This is now ubiquitous in sport, but this is the father of the mix zone. Over the years, he's done so much for our game, and I'm touched to be able to introduce him to you and to wish him well and to thank him for all the services. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a great man. Jim Trecker.
Thank you, Hank.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much, my good friend. My dear, dear friend.
Carlos, can you please come up and present the award? Jim, take a look. Take a look.
I knew there was a way I would open a meat call on Cordero, but I didn't think it would be.
Jim, can you take the microphone?
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. I'm usually a guy at a microphone who's also pretty comfortable, but I'm comfortable introducing others who give the speeches. And being in a spot following Anthony DiCicco and Hank Steinbrecher, not the easiest job in the world, but I'm going to try, and I'm going to steal from Anthony DiCicco right off the bat. Once in a while, I've been asked, how has it been? How was, this whole soccer thing? How did it work out? It went well. It went well. I've had a great life. I make no bones about it. I've had a great life. I'd like to thank the Colin Joe's Media Award Committee and actually soccer itself. I've been involved in the CJMA process right from the beginning, but I want to say right now, not this year. I was recused right from the start. But I can attest that through the years there have been so many deserving nominees that it's an honor even to be considered in that group. So many people have done so much tireless and heroic work to help take soccer from the shadows to the front pages. And I say front pages, which tells you how old I am. There aren't too many front pages anymore, but we're in the spotlight now. And it's been my privilege to have played a little part in that undertaking. My fellow Colin Joe's Award winners are an amazing group of people. If you don't know them, you should reach out and try to meet them. They believed in the game when most didn't, and just to be in their company is a humbling honor. How did this happen to me? I have absolutely no idea. I was talking to Hank earlier. I said, I don't know. I don't have any idea what's going on. It's just not explainable. I set out on a path in life because I loved the game. And here I am, bewildered a little bit as to what this is all about. But I accept the award not in my name alone. That's very important. No one wins honors alone. It's not possible. I've been surrounded by quality people right from the start, and I have to pay them homage. There have been mentors. I'd like to think a few mentees, some of them perhaps from both groups in this room tonight, and countless colleagues, but they've all been teachers. And I've learned every day. Everything I've done is a learning process. And because of them, I've got friends for life and have treasured memories that I wouldn't trade for anything. Soccer gave me the world. It opened my eyes to the world. It gave me everything. It's my family, figuratively and literally. My brother Jerry was the first Colin Joe's Award winner. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here tonight due to illness in his family. But we have met in the far corners of the world in pursuit of our soccer calling. Our families have gone to games together in the far corners of the world as one. That's soccer. That's soccer for you. Publicizing it, writing about it, broadcasting it. At times, those were lonely tasks, let me tell you. Some of the gray-haired people in the room might realize that. Some of the younger ones, believe me, it was a lonely and solo task at times, but never did our energy flag. Life is a matter of timing, maybe, and I'll admit mine's been pretty lucky. I don't know who's been looking after me, but it's been pretty lucky. But when I get together with old-timers, and I do, just the magic, the sheer magic of the unexpected opportunities
You mentioned Pelé. The opportunities that came our way, these old-timers, that's what we speak about. How did this happen? I was working for the New York Jets in the late 1960s, early 1970s. And we trained at Hofstra University in Long Island on one side of the parking lot. On the other side of the parking lot trained a team of not really highly publicized folks at the time called the New York Cosmos. Well, that changed, of course, in 1975 with Pelé, and one day someone walked across the parking lot from the Cosmos training camp to the Jets training camp and said, "Would you like to speak to Clive Toye about joining the Cosmos?" Talk about luck. I had nothing, I don't know where that came from, but boy, oh boy, if there's something smaller than a nanosecond, that's all the time it took for me to say yes. You know, some of the stories we tell when we get together are true. Believe it or not, some of them are true. But it always centers, there used to be, in the old Hall of Fame in Oneonta, there was a retreat that day called the Liars, I think it was called the Liars Club. Jack Huckle would have to refresh me on that. But some of the stories are true. But when it comes down to it, the wide-eyed moment always is, did you ever think it would be like today? And I can't say the answer was always yes when we were sitting in Randall's Island, or sitting in the Polo Grounds, or sitting in Yankee Stadium even during the Cosmos 1976 season, before the 77-691 crowd had happened and so forth. But we knew 40 to 50 years ago that if the great athletes of every era, like Briana and her Hall of Fame colleagues, and the great coaches, referees, and educators like Dr. Joe Machnik kept doing what they did, America's media and America's fans would see the game and love it. They did, and America does. Evenings like this are a thing of dreams come true, not just for me, but for the game. Thank you to soccer for doing this for so many. Thank you.
Thanks, Trek, for all those years of great service and dedication to our game. We are certainly better off that you've been able to switch from that oddball football to our football. Next, ladies and gentlemen, before I introduce Greg Andrulis to introduce our next honoree and inductee, I wanted to say a personal word about him. I grew up in New York playing soccer in the streets. And just above my age bracket, even though it's a little bit older, there was a guy who was a goalkeeper who had this reputation of being a stud. He was really good. I've looked up to this guy my entire career. Dr. Joe Machnik is referred to as the Renaissance man of soccer. And I admired him because he was an intellect and he was an athlete. And in my time growing up, being an athlete meant that you were not an intellect, that you were not an intellectual. He carried a bright torch for many of us. A man of great character. And now you see him on television, and when he speaks, people listen. A great man. So let me bring to the stage Greg Andrulis. Greg, you're here, please. You want to come on up? Greg is a former collegiate standout at Eastern Connecticut State, has coached the college and professional ranks for the last 38 years, and led Columbus Crew to the 2002 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup title. Currently, he is the head coach at George Mason University and has worked for 40 years with Dr. Joe's #1 soccer camp program. Greg.
Barbara, can you believe it? We're here amongst soccer royalty. The last time I took such a long walk, it was down the aisle at my wedding. It was quite a interesting thing to come up in front of so many incredible people and such a great night. Anthony, your words were touching. I know they touched everybody in the room, and we're all so proud of you. And I know the person that means the most to you is proud as well. Briana, congratulations. I don't know you personally, but from afar, always been amazed at your grace, your passion, great goalkeeper, and a ferocious competitor. Barbara has been on Joe's side since the beginning of this journey. At the table with her tonight is her lovely family, Colette and Janine, the two daughters of Joe. Bring him so much joy and excitement and love and passion. His grandkids are here with him tonight, Ryder and Olivia. Also tremendous joy every day watching them grow up and hear Joe talk and share stories. It's just been an incredible journey for the family. And if you don't mind, please help me recognize Barbara and Joe's family for all their contributions to tonight. Barbara was 14 when she met Joe. I think it was about 15, 20 years ago, something like that. And since that fateful meeting, they've been inseparable. We are also so happy tonight to have so many friends and family, cousins, in-laws. Joe's sister, Debbie, is here. Last night she just gave us an eloquent speech about Joe and then readily admitted, like most of us, that she has no idea how to interpret the offsides rule. Joe has had an incredible career as a player, coach, administrator, league commissioner, referee, and now an international superstar on TV. And we have to thank Michael Cohen for that, giving Joe the opportunity to be on Fox and enlighten all of us on the nuances of the game. At a recent recruiting event out in the field in the middle of nowhere, the referee was having a little bit of a challenge, as sometimes happens in this sport. And out of nowhere, this parent yelled, "Hey, ref, I think you got it wrong. I think we need to ask Dr. Joe." And if you watch the TV, that's one of the things that Rob Stone always says, let's ask Dr. Joe. And although I've known Joe for over 40 years, it was that moment that I thought maybe he arrived. On a small field in the middle of nowhere, a random parent calling out the man that we know as Dr. Joe. Little did the guy know about Joe's accomplishments, both on and off the field. So I hope you don't mind if we do a little bit of a history lesson for Joe. He started playing at Brooklyn Tech. Didn't come from a soccer family or an athletic background so much. The school that he went to didn't have much of a soccer field. They played in the gym and in a cage on the roof. With Dr. Joe in the goal and another great soccer American player, Ray Klavecka, scoring goals, they won the city championship. How fun that must have been. After just 2 years of competitive play, he was one of the first people to be given an athletic scholarship at LIU. After a successful playing career at LIU, Dr. Joe was named as an All-American. And that's just where things got interesting. I hope you don't mind if we do a little audience participation at this point in time. How many of you have played in an NCAA championship game? You can put your hands up or stand up, a few. How many of your first year of coaching at the age of 23 led your team to an NCAA championship? How many of you have won a U.S. Open Cup championship? There should be a few hands for that one. How many of you have coached two different teams to the NCAA championship? How many of you have refereed in an NCAA championship? And here's a tricky question. How many of you have done all of those things in your career? I think there's only one. It's Dr. Joe. I was also told with Anthony was that we have 5 minutes, but since Sunil only used 10, I'm going to use 450 of his as he was leaving here. Truly,
I'll play the music.
okay. That's just the beginning. Joe was part of the bronze medal winning team at the FIFA World Cup as an assistant coach with his good and longtime friend, John Kowalski. John recently received the Walt Chisholm Award at the U.S. Soccer Coaches Convention, a great honor. John and his wife Pat are here tonight. John and Pat have been longtime friends and family of Joe and his family. During the historic qualifying run in '89, when Paul Caligiuri hit the shot that shocked the world, Joe was an assistant coach on that team. 1990, made the World Cup for the first time in 40 years. He was assistant coach to that great gentleman and wonderful coach, and who's been recognized tonight, Bob Gansler. Turning from active coaching to administration referee, Joe continued to leave his mark. He's the director of referees for 3 different leagues: Major Indoor Soccer League, National Premier Soccer League, and 15 years with Major League Soccer. He also coached the New York Arrows for a short time, as well as being the commissioner of the American Indoor Soccer Association. In his spare time, Joe became a FIFA match referee with over 35 international assignments to date. He's authored 2 fantastic books on goalkeeping and a couple of videos, and they really have some good music, so if you ever need to have a little nighttime entertainment, the background stuff is really, really good. Where can we find Dr. Joe most often now? It's on TV. He's blessed to be asked by Fox to extend all of our knowledge of the game. We see him now analyzing and help with World Cups, Gold Cups. And this summer in Russia, he'll be part of that team. And all of us can once again yell at the TV when we're questioning call and say, hey, ask Dr. Joe. And that's just part of his resume. While this was going on, the Machniks founded and still run a camp that for 40 years have had over 100,000 people be touched by Joe's teaching, his methods, the Machnik method. He's internationally recognized as the father of American goalkeeping, a teacher, a lecturer, an intellect. Just an incredible, incredible career in those different things. So I've spent a little bit of time about Joe's resume, but many of us know the man, and that's just part of the story. His real resume, the Joe and Dr. Joe, is a compassionate man, a caring man, a family man, a person who has changed people's lives through his work, his relationships, his hand on your back, his kick in your butt, whatever it took. Joe helped find the way. He's passionate about life. He's passionate about living life. I don't know how many of you know that Joe at one time was a very famous stock car racer in Connecticut. His driving career is a little bit dodgy, though, and I'm not so sure that the finishes he had in Connecticut would be recognized tonight at this event. Scott, one of his crew members is here tonight. Scotty Saunders helped Joe put the car together quite a few times. He loves Elvis. I don't know how many of you knew that Joe was an Elvis lover. And at his 50th anniversary, he actually came as an Elvis impersonator and fooled quite a few people that were at that party. The number of people who have seen their lives improve because of Joe's mentorship and friendship is immeasurable. He has time, energy, and a thoughtful wisdom. His intellectual curiosity led to a long-time friendship with many of you here, people all around the world, including people like Franz Hook, who came and studied with Joe about goalkeeping in the United States and took part of that and added to his career, playing and coaching with some of the world-famous teams in Europe and with Holland for many, many years as their goalkeeper coach. Joe was one of the first to embrace change. He added women's sports to the University of New Haven when it wasn't so in vogue. Debbie Chin talked about that last night, coaching those women teams for Joe. He coached both the men's and women's team at New Haven, and some of his ex-players are here tonight: Ricky Kessel, Roberto Taylor, Christine Huber. And if I'm missing anybody, it's because I can't read all of Joe's notes that he left me. That's an inside story. Joe has been instrumental in the success of many of his family and some of them not personally related. The number of national team players, professional referees, MLS coaches, national team coaches, college and professional administrators who have benefited from Dr. Joe's generosity, his guidance, and most importantly, his friendship is too long to list. The number one staff is full of friends who have gone on to tremendous careers, both on and off the field. Some of them are here tonight: Clark Brisson, Mike Potier, Billy Gordon. Joe, I think your mom Viola and your dad, the commissioner, would be so proud tonight. And I'm betting somewhere there's a big cigar in heaven being lit in your honor tonight. Good friend Alfonso Mandela was quoted as saying, "Joe Machnik is one of the great personalities of sports in the United States, a person who has been at every level from coach to player to referee, administrator, at many levels with a vast experience and vast knowledge of the game." When we talk about pioneers, builders of the game in this country, you have to talk about Dr. Joe. Michael Lewis wrote an incredible piece, The Soccer Renaissance Man, specifically about Joe. Mike is a fantastic soccer writer, and I think it's kind of appropriate that the Renaissance Man is being inducted in the Renaissance Hotel. I don't know if that was done on purpose, but it still works. Joe, on behalf of your friends, family, former players, coaches, referees, campers, all of your friends at the #1 soccer camps, we send our sincerest appreciation for all that you've done for soccer, for all that you have done for us. We congratulate Dr. Joe, his wife Barbara, daughter Colette, Janine, and all of the extended Machnik family who came tonight to share in this incredible event. Rob Stone was quoted, actually he was tweeted, we used to say quoted, but Rob Stone actually tweeted so eloquently when he learned of Joe's induction that Dr. Joe is one of our most favorite human beings that we deal with. We are so proud. We are here tonight to honor a great man, not just because of what he's accomplished, because of who you are. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Joseph Machnik.
As Joe makes his way to the podium, please enjoy a video presentation we put together for him. Cue the video, please.
Our dear friend, our rules expert, our FIFA match commissioner, Dr. Joe Machnik, will be one of 2 people inducted this year into the National Soccer Hall of Fame. He's going in as a builder for his multiple roles as a player, as a coach, as a referee, his days with the MISL, MLS. Dr. Joe, we are so proud.
Joe Machnik is a terrific selection for induction in the National Soccer Hall of Fame.
Joe Machnik is a true American soccer legend.
If you look at the different aspects of U.S. soccer, I mean, particularly from the referee side of things, we talk about administrators, we talk about instructors, we talk about evaluators, assessors, or coaches, and Joe is one of the few individuals that's got expertise in all aspects. As an administrator, he was a guiding light for us. He was our mentor, certainly for me. I was the rookie when we started out in that league. And again, he's just persevered for all that period of time. What are we talking about, 4 or 5 decades now?
He's one of the pioneers. He has been a player, a coach, a referee, administrator, television commentator. He has been a match commissioner. I've known Joe for over 30 years, and I'm very lucky to say he's a friend, and I learned so much from him.
I've known Joe for many, many years, back from his playing days and his coaching days in New Haven, from his work on a national scale, his refereeing expertise, his leadership of the game. When I grew up, he was one of my idols.
Joe has so much grit, so much passion. He just doesn't know when to say when is enough, and he takes one more out of you. And he approaches everything in life with that. He's all in, he's totally committed. And you could see it in anything that he does. He goes for perfection. He goes for excellence. And that's what I love about him.
Careful, that's rented. Where's Greg? Greg, where's Greg? Greg! What a great job Greg Andrulis did imitating Ralph Edwards. Some of you don't know who Ralph Edwards is. Google it, but not now. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Where did you get the picture of a young Clint Eastwood? Where's that? 60 years. I started 60 years ago in soccer. Greg mentioned so many things that, you know, it's hard to believe that all of them could be true. There has to be some, for want of another word, BS. Some of it is BS, but for me, BS means before Sunil. So Sunil, my memory of you goes way back to Connecticut when, in fact, I refereed games of yours at Cheshire High School. And Don Winchink is here, too, and he also refereed games of yours. But my most cherished memory of an experience with you was in Trinidad and Tobago when we finally did win that game that we weren't supposed to win and qualify for 1990 World Cup. We didn't believe we were going to win. We didn't even have champagne, but the Trinidad Tobago team gave us theirs. And you came into the locker room, and you shook my hand and looked me in the eye, and you said, "Thank you very much." And I knew it wasn't about Paul Caligiuri's goal, because honestly, 100% I had nothing to do with that. But I thought maybe I had something to do with the 4 straight shutouts that Tony Meola recorded in the last 4 qualifying games, and if he would have given a goal up in any one of those games, we would not have made Italia 90. And Sunil, if you were up here, I would shake your hand as much and as hard as you shook mine that day, because before Sunil, there was nothing. John Lennon said, before Elvis, there was nothing. But before Sunil, there was nothing. I remember the days way back. I played in some of the places in New York City. They were all called ovals at that time. There was New Farmers Oval, Eintracht Oval, Zarigo Oval, Metropolitan Oval, Sports Friend Oval. None of them were shaped like an oval, but nevertheless, they were all called ovals. And there was no grassroots soccer at that time, principally because there was no grass. We played on fields that were actually crushed, cinder, sand. I don't know if you know what coke is, but it's a form of coal that they had way back when, and they made fields out of it. And you went down on a slide tackle or to make a save, you really paid the price. Greg mentioned that I have more than 60 guests here, family, friends. Not all of them were invited.
And it's so important, I think so noteworthy that 3 goalkeepers are being honored. And Anthony, my God, what a terrific job you did. Tony and I actually played in a game together. We were both members of the Connecticut State All-Star team about 1970. And we played only one game as an all-star team. It was against New Jersey, which we won 1-0. I played the first half, and Tony played the second. And then we separated. Our paths went different ways. We had competing businesses, as has been mentioned. But then, working for Fox during the Women's World Cup, Tony also worked for Fox. And there are things called production meetings, and sometimes you get a chance to go out to dinner with the people that you're working with, and somehow Tony and I always found a way to sit next to each other. And I got to know him like I never knew him before. And it was such a pleasure to know him in that way, and I miss him so much, and we all miss him at Fox, and I can't believe, I'm so sad for your family, and I know how much you loved and miss him. And from the bottom of my heart, we all in this room miss him really, really badly. I mentioned there was no grassroots soccer, so there was no youth soccer where I grew up in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. I actually played Little League Baseball, and I played some basketball too. And it was when my basketball coach told me that the only way I was going to get my name in lights was to change it to Exit. Then I decided that I had to find another endeavor. You know, I started to mention that there were 3 goalkeepers being honored, and the reason that I felt it was so special is because the selection committee, and thank you, selection committee, I don't know who you are, but thank you so much. The 3 goalkeepers are being honored because there's a feeling in the room that there's a lot to be saved here. So I played at Brooklyn Tech, and we didn't win the city championship, Greg. You got that one wrong, but we got eliminated in the semifinal. And I did go to LIU, and one of my first awards that I received at LIU was Honorable Mention All-American. And I had to look up that word, honorable, what that really meant. But upon finding out, I used it and continue to use it, I think, I hope, and I hope I'm perceived that way, on how I lived my life and conducted my soccer and my daily businesses. In fact, when I did go stock car racing for a 6-year career with a NASCAR license, I actually won one year Sportsman of the Year. And Sportsman of the Year was given to the driver who spent the most money and accomplished the least. But at least I did it in an honorable fashion. I did coach in the 1966 championship game. Long Island University lost to San Francisco, and at LIU, and Carlo Tramatozzi, the team captain, is with us. And somehow in trying to prepare for tonight's speech, I found some 1966 emails in the form of Western Union telegrams. And I'd like to read a couple of them to you. Oh, by the way, Sunil, how do you do this? I watched you today. Sometimes it goes like this, and then sometimes it's like this. So I'll just take them off. Hearty congratulations on victory over Michigan State. We beat Michigan State, LIU beat Michigan State 2-2. The tiebreaker was corner kicks. And we had 7, and they had 6. And that's how we advanced to the final game. Hearty congratulations on victory over Michigan State. Now for the championship, you can do it. R. Gordon Hoxie, the Chancellor of the University, Long Island University. Another one, email. Good luck today. We'll be cheering for you from Founders Hall at 3 p.m. That's the gymnasium. So what they did, they had someone at the game that had a telephone, hardline, and announced the game through a telephone that they broadcast into the gym. Sorry, Mike. And that's how the people in the gym heard, you know, how we did. And this one is signed by the cheerleaders. So, sorry, Barbara. Oh, and this is one of my favorites. I mentioned Carlo Tramatozzi. We had several players of Italian heritage. Carlo Tramatozzi, Marcello Launi, Louis Galaro. They were the backbone of our team, and this one is really special. Congratulations, Carlo, Marcello, and Louis. Best of luck in the final. We wish you all of the best. God bless you. Pope Pius XII. I met Steve Jungle. Does that name ring a bell? Yeah. I met Steve Jungle maybe 5 years ago, 6, at a MLS combine. He was watching the players. Actually, Fernando Clavillo introduced me again to him. And he didn't recognize me at first. I refereed so many of his games. And then finally, when he realized, I introduced myself, and he realized, how, you know, because I did over 200 MISL games. I was also the assigner. And that included the opening game, the championship game, the first game in Madison Square Garden, which was a big deal for me growing up in New York. But Steve Jungle said to me, "I never liked you as a ref, but I respected you." And I took that as a really, really meaningful comment, and having something to do with the word honorable. I had several mentors. Everybody has mentors. Gary Rosenthal, the coach of LIU, was my first mentor. He told me that I better marry Barbara before somebody else does. When Gary became dean of students, he left me the team. I was the assistant coach, and he left me the team of a very talented group. So I was 23 years old, but it wasn't my team. But I coached the team to the championship game, and we lost. But it's just, he was a terrific mentor to me. He's no longer with us. Walter Chisowitz, I played with him near the end of his career at the Newark Ukrainians. He became director of coaching, Detmar Kramer's hand-picked man to lead the United States develop coaching after Detmar left. Walter believed in me. I became the goalkeeper coach at the coaching schools and taught those schools for so many years. I became the assistant coach with the national team, the assistant coach with the five-a-side team that John Kowalski led to bronze medal. So Walter was a very, very meaningful person in my life that we lost much too early, and an important mentor. Earl Foreman was the commissioner of the original MISL. He taught me a lot about the organization and administration of leagues. So it was and I worked for 15 years at MLS, and what a crew we had there, with Don Garba, Ivan Gazidis, Mark Abbott, Bill Sage, the gentleman who hired me, and I had a fantastic time there, even when they asked me to take a salary cut when we were reduced to 10 teams. And what a comeback that league has made. Let's give that league a round of applause. I mean, Michael Cohen was mentioned as having the courage and confidence to bring me to Fox. I don't know how, I mean, that's been so much fun. And Rob Stone is the person who promulgated the character of Dr. Joe that has, made whatever I say hopefully a little bit interesting. My family is here. Greg mentioned them. And it's about this time when someone closes their remarks to say thank you to everybody that has impacted my life. About this time, a person who is being honored would say, you know, I want to apologize to my family for not being there for them, for not, you know, for all the times that we missed and all the things that, you know, we were not able to attend because I was away for so many occasions. But I can't say that to my family because I've taken them everywhere I go. You know, they have been to every game at LIU, every game at New Haven, every MISL game that I refereed, every MLS game. They were with me in Italia 90. They were with me at Vancouver, the Women's World Cup, and hopefully they're going to be able to be with me in Russia when I continue that work for Fox. Olivia, I missed your high school graduation, and I promised you that when you graduate from college, we'll go to France for the Women's World Cup. There was a TV show back in the 60s called You Are There. It was hosted by Walter Cronkite. Anyone remember it? He ended the show this way. What kind of day has it been? A day that a day that lived, well, I can't even remember what he used to say. Let me try that again. And I didn't have anything to drink either. What kind of day has it been? A day like all days that filled with those events. Alter and illuminate our times, except you are there. So I can say a little bit about my life. What kind of life has it been? A life, a very special life. And Barbara has been with me for every single moment of that life, and it wouldn't be special, and nothing that I've done or anything that has been special to me wouldn't be special without you at my side. So Barbara, thank you for being at my side for We know each other 57 years. We've been married 53. I have a Twitter account. And I even have a faux Twitter account. And there's been a lot on Twitter, you know, congratulations, Dr. Joe, and some of it has come from former campers, and one of them really touched my heart today, and I don't know who it's from. He wrote, he won't remember, but he taught me how to stand up to bullies. And if that's something that I accomplished in my life, along with the things that you have recognized me for, I really took that as meaningful and special. Thank you, everybody. I'm not used to speaking in public. Love you guys.
Great job, Larry. Thank you. Great job. Congratulations. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, now you can see why we walk with giants. This man is tremendous. Sir, I think you stole my notes. Along with those emails. As we introduce our next inductee, I want to tell a personal story for a second. Picture the scene. It's 1999. It's Los Angeles. There are 94,000 fans screaming for women's sport. And we have a goalkeeper, Briana Scurry. Gets to penalty kicks, and I have my family with me. And I'm overtaken with the emotion of this event. And Bri has a brilliant save. How many remember that? Right after she made that save, my son, Corey, at the time was a little guy, saw me for the first time fall to my knees in thanks. And I have been an ardent admirer of this young lady ever since. The only woman other than my wife to take me to my knee. I don't think I need to recite all the great things that Briana has done. She has become an icon of America. She set the tone for sport for women. She's a phenomenal, I'm telling you because I know, she's a phenomenal human being. She's had a number of injuries in her life that she's still recovering from. She gave her heart and her soul for our country and for our national team. Let me call to the stage Naomi Gonzalez. Naomi, if you can join me. Naomi served as a massage therapist for the U.S. national team, women's national team, when they won the 2004 World Cup. And during the time, she and Bri developed a strong relationship that has endured to this day. Bri, can you join us, please? Naomi, will you please do the honors?
Before I start, I just want to say thank you, Dr. Joe, for your incredible service to the beautiful game all these years. Really happy for the laughs, because it's made this a lot easier. I can't tell you what an honor it is to be up here introducing Briana Scurry, because the fact that I am means that I'm on her team. And to be on her team means that you know you've got someone who's always got your back, who will hold you to the best possible version of yourself that you can be, because you know she expects nothing less from you or herself. To be on Bri's team is to know and witness integrity on a daily basis. The only thing that matters on Bri's team is your focus, your effort, your determination. Are you consistently giving your all? And there is no cheating on Bri's team. There's no shortcuts. There's only hard work, team, and individual effort, all aligned for the ultimate prize. Results you will have given every ounce of yourself to have achieved, to be a champion. And Gandhi once said, champions are made from something they have deep inside of them, a desire, a dream, a vision. And you say Briana Scurry's name has already been told here today. The first image, that iconic image that comes to many people's minds, is that Bri in the goal in 1999 Women's World Cup, facing off against the Chinese striker during PKs. And you'll recall that fierce stare, the pacing back and forth across the goal, claiming the yards and the posts in between as hers, that barely contained physical energy that dared the striker to get by her. That moment when she just leaps to her left from the bouncing squat and makes the save that sends the sold-out crowd at the Rose Bowl into a roar. That moment in time made history. It and the 1999 team put women's soccer on the map. That moment in time spurred the seeds of hope and excitement in the hearts of millions of young girls that they too could play soccer, that they too could command the hearts and the minds of the nation. That U.S. soccer has grown significantly since then, and in large part because of the popularity of the 1999 women's team. Bri went on to play more than 175 games for her country. She won 2 Olympic gold medals in '96 and '04 and posted 72 shutouts. She's a founding member of WUSA and the starting goalkeeper for the Atlanta Beat for the first 3 seasons, and eventually went on to play for the Washington Freedom. In 2010, Bri suffered a concussion during a game. It was her 3rd, and it was a doozy. The symptoms were fierce and unrelenting. I recall reading something Bri had written at the time, and when I looked at the computer screen, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Major misspellings and sentences that were completely unlike her, and it just weren't making sense. Concentration on a task was nearly impossible. Mind-numbing headaches and migraines plagued her daily. She was depressed and anxious. The concussion had changed her and effectively ended her career. Gone was the Bri that would spend weekend mornings cheering on her favorite team, Chelsea, yelling in glee at the TV, giving tips to the coaches and the players. They could definitely hear her. Gone was the Bri that would spend hours researching topics that would give her an extra edge here or there to be the best. This period of her life was one of the biggest challenges she would ever face. And for 3.5 long years, Bri sought answers and treatment that brought little to no relief until finally she met a neurologist and surgeon that changed the course of her life. In the fall of 2013, the surgeon performed a procedure that took the pressure off of the occipital nerves. While the docs felt some degree of confidence that this could work, there was definitely not any great guarantees. And I was in the room when she came to. And I'll never forget the moment she opened her eyes and the slow, steady smile that came to her face. And in that moment, I knew Bri was back. And she said, "It doesn't hurt anymore." And she laid there with the most serene look on her face that I'd ever seen, this happy, happy smile, full of joy, and almost like the pain of the last 3 years had never existed. And I saw my old friend back, the one full of big dreams and confidence, the kind, big-hearted, eternally optimistic person who pushed forward, once again, against all odds. Since retiring from professional soccer, Bri has become a strong advocate of concussion awareness, speaking in front of Congress on the issue to young soccer players and organizations across the country. In 2016, Briana was inducted as part of the Title IX exhibit of the Smithsonian African American History and Culture Museum in Washington, D.C. And she has just recently been named the first assistant coach for the Washington Spirit. And today, she makes history, becoming the first female goalkeeper and first African American woman to be inducted into the National Soccer Hall of Fame. It's an honor that she richly deserves. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my profound privilege to introduce to you one of my greatest heroes and an international national icon of which we can all be proud, the incomparable Briana Scurry.
Ladies and gentlemen, as Briana takes the mic, please look at this video we put together for her. Briana, please.
When I saw that Bri had been inducted, first and foremost, you think, thank goodness, because this is someone that should have been in first year right away.
Bri was a great gal. She was awesome. She was super caring and kind and kind of quiet off the field and just really interesting to talk to. And then when she'd get on the field, she'd turn into this animal and just intense and unbelievable.
There was always this calm, confident, intense demeanor that just overflowed out of her.
When it came to being on the field, she was very intense, very focused, determined, just a competitor.
She would just lock in, the look in her eye. She would come out, after making a save and just, and everybody would get feet off of her.
The games you can look back on, the one that comes in screaming to mind is Brazil in the 1999 World Cup, and she's just making save after save and keeping us in the game.
Some of the saves she made, I can remember, because I was on the bench, and we looked at each other like, oh my gosh.
She could fly, whether it was from side to side, from post to post, she could just fly through the air.
To this day, I think she was the best in terms of shot stopping. She had these cat-like reflexes where we don't win those world championships and Olympics without Briana Scurry. There's no question about that. It's the World Cup final against China, July 10th, 1999. A really hot stadium. We played through regulation, we played through overtime, and now we're going into penalty kicks. It's not just any penalty kick shootout, it's to win a World Cup. And we always felt like, okay, Bri's got one, we just have to do our jobs because she'll come up with a big save. This is what Briana does.
I knew she would come up with a save, and having to take a PK, I just knew we just had to make it because she would definitely make a save.
I'd put my money on her all day long. I mean, we watched her in training. And again, it's a one-on-one duel, and I wouldn't take anybody else.
When she walked up to the line, I remember thinking, this is going to be one Bri's going to get.
The shot, save Scurry!
And when Bri made that save, and then she does her fist pump, it was like, yes, okay, here's our chance. She just created a window, let's go. And again, it speaks to just this incredible intensity that always defined Bri. In these big moments, you knew she's going to stand up and make that save.
Bri definitely deserves this. She was the best teammate. She was so much fun off the field. She was always there for you. Funny, easy to get along with, so made the chemistry great for the team.
She's so deserving to be in the Hall of Fame, and it's not a surprise. And I'm happy to see her be rewarded for that, for being just a great player and an amazing person.
She represented to so much of our society a different look of what a player should be. It wasn't a white kid from a suburban neighborhood. It was an African American who was playing in goal, who started late in the game, and she rose to the highest of levels. And we get to recognize her in the Hall of Fame. I'm just so proud. America gets to recognize her in the Hall of Fame for the incredible career she had and what, as teammates, we love is the incredible human being that she is.
Ooh. Good evening. That was amazing. You always wonder about how your teammates receive you. And they can always receive you in one way, however you are on the field all the time, or they can receive you for how you are as a complete person. And I'm very happy to see that Joy actually thought I was funny, because as most defenders who've played with me know, I'm not very funny usually on the pitch or during a game. So that was fantastic. It's a really great honor for me to be here. I am overjoyed. I'm overflowing. So many amazing people I've seen that I've known over the years in the last couple of days since being here, and just being here with my family and friends and having somewhat of my two worlds collide, my previous soccer family and my current family. It's been an absolutely fantastic experience for me these last couple of days, so thank you for having me. In everybody's lives, they have the family they were born into, and then they have the family that they choose. And I, for one, was an incredibly lucky person to have the family that I was born into be so incredibly supportive. When I was 8 years old, I remember distinctively sitting on the couch watching the 1980 Lake Placid men's ice hockey team, and I think it's absolutely fantastic that the Winter Olympics are actually going on right now, because it really brought that memory home to me these last couple of days watching the Olympics and seeing that 8-year-old girl that I was watching those games on the couch with my mom and dad. And I remember seeing Jim Craig literally spinning on his head and helping the Team USA beat the Soviet Union at the time. And I remember thinking and saying to myself out loud and my mom and dad, I want to be an Olympian after USA won that gold medal. I want to be an Olympian. That's so cool. And I remember my mom and dad both distinctively saying, you can. You can be an Olympian if it's what you want to be. You just got to go out there and work hard. You can have anything and be anything that you want to be. And as time went on, I became a little bit older and I played different sports. I didn't start playing soccer until I was 12 years old. I played a little tackle football in there somewhere. Thank goodness, that was a lot of fun. For 2 years in 4th and 5th grade, I remember playing softball, running track. And when I was 12 years old, I remember sitting on my bed one afternoon after school and thinking to myself, I wonder what Olympics would be the Olympics I could play in. What Olympics would be the right Olympics at the right time for me? So I remember sitting down thinking about this and distinctively saying, okay, so I'm 12 years old now. I think the first time I would be able to be in the Olympic Games would probably be 1996 in Atlanta. I didn't necessarily know what sport it would be. At the time, I thought it would probably be track. I definitely didn't think it would be ice hockey, obviously. But I remember sitting down on my bed and writing out a sign that said, Atlanta, 1996, I have a dream. And it was an 8x10 piece of paper, and I took that piece of paper and I stuck it on the wall in my bedroom. So every morning when I'd wake up, I'd look at it and see it and remember it and think about it. And then every night when I came home, before I went to bed, I would see that sign. And day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, that sign was there. And I remember saying to my mom and dad, you know, as I grew up, this is what I want to do. I want to be an Olympian. And they said, yes, you can, honey. Yes, you can. I was really fortunate to be born into a family that was so incredibly supportive, and particularly my mom and dad were there with me every step of the way, every practice, every game, tournaments, local, across the country, every sport I ever played. They always said, yes, you can. Yes, you can play that. Yes, you can play basketball. Every single time. The only one time they said no was ice hockey, which is ironic, right? Because that's the one that inspired me the most, but that was the one they were like, ooh, that's a little bit too dangerous. We don't think, we like those sticks, that ice and those blades. So no to that, but yes to everything else. And I was grateful, internally grateful for them. And as I grew up, I started to play soccer a lot more full-time, and I got college scholarship opportunities to 70 different scholarships on different schools around the country. Not just soccer, but also basketball, track, and softball as well. And my parents were very, very keen on me staying local, but they also knew that there might be an opportunity for me to go elsewhere, further away from them, and they were willing to allow that to happen. And they supported me in that. And they loved me, and they cherished me, and they said, you know what, Bri, you got to do what you got to do. You make your decision, and you choose which school is best for you, which program suits you best. And I ended up going to the University of Massachusetts. And at the time, the coach there was Jim Rudy, and he knew Anson Dorrance, and before I knew it, I was on the national team. After my senior year in college, I got called in for November training camp in 1993, and that was the very first training camp I ever had. And at that time, one of the coaches was Tony DeCicco. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm not sure what they see in me, but I guess they must see something. And I know I really like it, the opportunity that I have here. So whatever it is that they see, I'm just going to keep showing them that. And Tony said to me on my first exit meeting after my first training camp, after I think I actually allowed over 1,000 goals that week. Because if anybody's ever gone from college to national team, you try to stop Tisha Venturini's shot, Michelle Akers, Karen Gabera, Mia Hamm, all these amazing players that are all in the Hall of Fame now, by the way. Your first time at a young age in my early 20s. And I wasn't always so sure that particular week. I know I liked what I was doing, but I wasn't sure if they were going to invite me back. So I go into my exit meeting, and Tony says, "Hey, Bri, come on in, have a seat." And I sit down, and he says to me, "Great job this week." And I look at him, I'm like, "Really? Are you sure? Are you joking? I must have given up 1,000 goals." He's like, "No, you did fantastic. It wasn't about the goals that you gave up. It was about your attitude that you displayed afterwards. It was about the determination you had and the way you conducted yourself after goals were scored. You didn't allow one to end up being 3, 4, and 5 much of the time. Maybe one more, maybe 2, but that's it. So we're inviting you back in again." And I was on cloud 9, on top of the world. And shortly after that, I remember going to Soccer Plus camp later that summer, the next year, 1994. And there I went there with Jen Mead. Does anybody remember who Jen Mead is? Anyone? No one? Well, she was one of the most amazing people. She was a fantastic goalkeeper, tall girl, about 5'11", maybe 6 foot. Big girl, fantastic in the air, and just an amazing personality. She and I both went to the Soccer Plus goalkeeper camp to work for Tony. And we were walking down the hallway right before the camp began, and one of the other coaching instructors walked by us and said hello. Now, at the time, I thought for sure that I had acknowledged that other coach, but apparently I hadn't, and later on I found out that she was not too happy with me and thought I was a stuck-up snob for ignoring her and not saying hello. Well, little did I know that she would be someone who would be in my life for the next 25 years. And her name is Carrie Rifle. And Carrie and I have been friends for a very long time, and we went through that soccer camp together and got to be really good friends then and continued our relationship and being in each other's lives for many, many years to come after that. And then as I went on and I played for the national team in 1996, we had our first opportunity to play for Olympic gold medal. And as you all know, we did incredibly well, and it was a fantastic event, and I absolutely loved it because finally, that 12-year-old girl who made that sign that said, "Atlanta, 1996, I have a dream," and that little 8-year-old girl who sat on that couch with her mom and dad and said, "I want to be an Olympian," was actually standing on a soccer pitch from a place far, far away, Dayton, Minnesota, no one had ever heard of. And I was living the dream that I had at 8, and I was living the dream that I had at 12. And I was playing for my country on one of the most amazing teams to have ever existed in sport, not just men's and women's sports, but all sports. And I had this opportunity to play. And boy, did we play. We came in and we played China, and we beat them in the final, as all of you know. And I finally achieved my Olympic dream. And it was outstanding. My parents were both in the stands, and they were so proud. And in 1996, thank you. Thank you. And in 1996, we became Olympic champions, and I remember that medal being put over my head. And I had a flashback to watching the 1980 Olympic team get the medals put around their necks and over their heads. And I remember thinking to myself, boy, this thing is heavy. Wow, this is so heavy. This is awesome. And I just felt this amazing elation and relief that I had finally made it. After so many years of working and great support from my family, I had made it. And as time went on, 1999 came along, and as you all know, that was an outstanding year. I don't think it could be any better, and it obviously couldn't be any more dramatic, that's for sure. And we had a wonderful experience. and I loved it. And it wasn't until the final game where I really understood what we were about to do and what had happened in this country leading up to that. So when we beat Brazil in the semifinal and we sold out that Rose Bowl in, I don't know, a few hours right after that, that's when I really was like, wow, this is amazing. Everybody's paying attention to this. Everybody is tuned in. And as a player, you try to focus on the task at hand. And you try not to get too caught up, if you can, in everything going on around you. But it's hard. It's hard to stay focused. But that team, we were so tight. We were so together. We were so excited and just having fun doing what we do. And the entire country was having fun following us. You know, we were called the Fun Bus, the Girls Next Door, America's Sweethearts, and all these amazing things leading up to that final. And now we were like, we got to win this thing. So we go into this game against China, and China had been playing spectacularly. I don't know how many of you remember that, but I think they beat Norway like 5-0 in their semifinal, and we had a little bit of a struggle against Brazil. I had one of the best games of my life against Brazil in that semifinal for us, and we squeaked it out 2-0. And I remember going into that final thinking, wow, this is going to be a fantastic game. I'm going to really need to be ready. And we go into that final game, and lo and behold, 0-0 through the first, regulation time, and then that first overtime happened. And they had a corner kick. And one of the Chinese players played it, and it was flying through the air. I remember this so distinctively, flying through the air, and I make a diving attempt to save it, and I'm nowhere near it. And I'm thinking, oh shit. Right? Dr. Joe, you know what I'm talking about, right? And then the ball comes back out again, and I'm like, oh shit. I scramble to my feet to try to, just in case something comes back at me again, and Brandy bicycle kicks it out to the midfield. And I turn to my left, and there's Christine Lilly, doing what she does, doing her job, heads it off the line. And at that moment, I'm like, we've got this. We've got this game. If that wasn't going to kill it, ain't nothing going to kill it, right? So sure enough, we go on the penalty kicks, and like my teammates said up there, my job was just to save one kick. And I did that, so that was awesome. And my teammates had incredible fortitude in knowing what they had to do as well, and that team was just absolutely outstanding in that way. I mean, we knew what our jobs were, and we went ahead and we were able to achieve and do them and complete them to the best of our ability. And for the next couple of years, I admit, I drank the Kool-Aid a little bit after that '99 World Cup. I lost my fitness a little bit, 25 pounds. That's more than a little bit. But I remember thinking to myself, I need to get this changed. I need to do something about this. I need to fix it. And as I was in pursuit of trying to get my fitness back, I lost my spot. And so in 2000, that Olympic Games right after that, I didn't play a single minute of any game. I think we played 41 games that year. Out of 41 games, I played in 41 games. And that was a very, very humbling experience for me. And as a lot of you know, my career has always been peaks and valleys. There's no in between. I'm either riding high on the top of the mountain, or I am crashing in the bottom. And you know what? That's okay. Because that's really, in the bottom is where you figure out what you're made of. And figure out who you are. And you figure out who your friends are. And what you have inside of you. And I did. I did some real soul searching during 2000, 2001. And I decided, you know what? I was a great goalkeeper in '99. All of this that happened to me was self-inflicted, and I am the cause of it, and I will also be the solution for it. And I did, and I worked my butt off in 2001, in 2002, and got my job back. I got my starting spot back, went into 2003 in the World Cup, and unfortunately we lost to Germany, who was definitely a very good team that year. Meanwhile, in my personal life, during 2004, my father began to get really ill. And he had a couple of heart attacks, and he was diabetic, and he had his leg amputated below the knee. And he was very ill. And during that summer of 2004, we were training for the next Olympic Games, and I would go home in between training camps almost every single time to see my dad. And he was struggling. But boy, did he have a great attitude. Every time he saw me, he was excited. Every time he had that smile on his face. Every time that twinkle in his eye. Oh, my daddy's girl's home. Daddy's girl's home. And that's when I met Naomi. Naomi was the massage therapist for the national team at that time, and she became a great person in my life. And Naomi and I got to be really good friends during the summer of 2004. And in 2004, in August, my father passed away. And that was a devastating blow to me. He died 2 months before the Olympic Games, in June of 2004. And I went into those Olympics having the most powerful feelings of joy and elation to be able to achieve my Olympic dream again on one hand, and the absolute devastation of losing one of my rocks of my life. And to Naomi's credit, she really helped me through all of that. And as we went on, as you know, we won in 2004 again. That was nice. And it was a sweet time in particular because not only because my father had passed away and we had achieved it, but because my mom was able to come. And that Olympic Games would have been the first time ever that neither of my parents would have been attending. And because my father passed away, my mother was able to come and see. And when I saw her, when we were playing Japan in the quarterfinal game, I don't think I could have felt any more stronger of a presence of both of my parents there during that time. And my mom was an absolute rock. She and my dad had been married for 43 years. And I thought for sure that she wasn't going to be able to live for much longer after he had passed. But she lived for another 11 years after that. And I continued to play on the national team, and in 2004, as you know, we won Olympic gold again, so that was wonderful. And then after that, I decided that I was going to take a year off and reassess and see what I wanted to do with my career. So I stepped away from the game for about a year, and then I came back in 2006, and it didn't go very well for me. I really honestly felt that my game was no longer anointed because my rock, my father, had passed away, and that's how I felt about it. And I didn't play with the great passion and heart that I really thought I should play with, and so then I retired after 2008 Olympics as an alternate. In 2009 and 10, I played with the Washington Freedom in the WPS. And I had a lot of heart and soul and passion for the game, but there was always a little something missing there because of my father passing away. And I continued to try to play, and I played as hard as I could, but there was always a little bit off about it. And in 2009, I suffered a knee injury towards the end of the season, and I was rarely injured. And in 2010, I suffered a debilitating head injury in a game against the Philadelphia Independents, and that ended my career on the field. And it began an odyssey of confusion, of isolation, of depression, of disconnection from anything and everyone I was. And there was times during those 3 years after that head injury that I just didn't understand who I was, what I was doing, why I was still hurting. How come I couldn't find a doctor at the time to help me? why it was taking so long, and why me? And I remember looking and thinking at my gold medals and looking at pictures of me doing amazing things in soccer and thinking to myself, is that me? Did I really do all those things? Am I ever going to be Briana Scurry again? And in 2013, I finally got to the right doctor who diagnosed me in 10 minutes and said, I'm going to help you. And that was my doctor, Dr. Crutchfield. And as Naomi said, in 2013, I had this operation where I had both occipital nerves dug out of the back of my base of my skull. And I felt like myself again. In 2014, I was struggling a little bit, and then someone else came into my life. Her name is Krissa. And she was someone who came in and helped me when I was really having a hard time and trying to figure out who I was and what I was going to become. And she came into my life and she said, you know what, I think I can help you. And she did. She helped me rearrange my career. She helped me figure out what I could and couldn't do. She helped me get the medical attention that I needed. I went through another year of therapy, and as the time went on, Krissa got to know each other and to become really good friends, and then become really close and become more than friends. And I am happy to say that on June 2nd of this year, we are going to be married. Now, I have had some amazing parents in my life, the family I was born into. And I've also had an amazing experience and fortune to have the family that I chose. Now, Carrie Rifle, who's the person I met at Soccer Plus camp 20 plus years ago, isn't here, unfortunately. And I have nicknames for my friends and my family that I've chosen, and they are called angels. Carrie is my first angel. She's not here. Naomi is my second angel. Will you please stand, Naomi? You guys have all met her, but I would like her to stand. Thank you. And Krissa is my third angel. Krissa, will you please stand? Thank you. So when people ask me, Bri, how do you define success? I define success in many ways. You have to have grit. You have to have heart. You have to have resilience. And it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of luck, a Christine Lilly on the left side of your post when you need it, and 3 angels. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I ask Dan to come on up to the podium to end our evening, I want to leave you with just a couple of thoughts. First thought is we really walk among giants. 3 great inductees this evening into your Hall of Fame. We walk among giants. Second, ladies and gentlemen, let's pledge that we have the grit to work with our new president, Carlos Cordero, in doing what we know we can do and being the very best that we can be. And if we do that together, I know our family. If we do that, there's no boundaries for us. Next is please remember in your prayers and in your thoughts our troops who are defending our nation. They are in harm's way, and there's no shortage of work for them. And please join me in thanking Dan and his stellar staff for a wonderful evening tonight and everything that they do for soccer day in and day out. Sunil, thank you so much, and God bless you. Marcella, God bless you. Thank you.
Thanks, Hank, for those kind words. I'm sure the staff appreciates it as well. A couple just wrap-up items. Sunil mentioned earlier today that Anton Silly and Bruce Blake were with us earlier today, and they are with us at dinner tonight. Wanted to recognize them. Thank you. Also, the president of CONCACAF, if he would stand, Victor Montaglione. I think that's the second AGM in a row for Victor, I think it is. So, thank you to Briana, Joe, Anthony. Your words were inspiring. It's been a wonderful evening. I do appreciate very much Hank's comments. I also wanted to say a special thanks to the staff. This has been a very unique AGM. So there's an administrative side with Jay and Brian, Eric, Tanya. There's a communication side with Neil Beathy, his entire team. And a special thanks to Lydia Waukee, our new general counsel, and Greg Fike, who really put the process and managed the entire process in temperament of this, the last 4 months in particular, within Soccer House. A special thanks. And the one who pulls it is the CEO of the AGM, really is Caitlin Carducci. So I wanted to thank Caitlin. So. All right. They make it fun to go to work, so that's good. One last, if the award winners of the Werner Fricker could gather for some photos, and also the artwork is here if anybody wants to take a photo with Sunil. So thank you very much. Look forward to seeing everybody in Phoenix in 2019. Be well.